Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for learning more about application modernization. My name is Linda Leanne. I'm a product marketing manager, and I'll be talking to you about our pitch today. The new normal. We're in the midst of a technological shift, and the most successful companies are realizing that the technologies they build are competitive differentiators. In fact, for many organizations, we like to say that their business is their application. 67% of business leaders believe that they must pick up the pace of digitalization to remain competitive. To foster an environment in which innovation thrives, successful companies are changing the way they design, build, and manage apps with a new set of development and operational practices. We've distilled this down into an approach which we call modern application development. To maintain a competitive advantage, digital businesses today can't just innovate. They have to innovate fast. In order to achieve this agility, they have to be able to go from idea to experiment in record time. The faster they can get their product out to market, the faster they can collect and analyze the feedback. The quicker they can react to the needs of their customers, the more they can deliver business value. The faster they do all of this, and the more they reduce costs, freeing up resources to experiment on new ideas. We call this the innovation flywheel, and it's how we innovate at AWS. And importantly, it's what we want our customers to feel confident about as well. We want them to have the same approach that we do, which is summarized by this quote from Andy. Invention requires two things: the ability to try a lot of experiments and not having to live with the collateral damage of failed experiments. At its heart, modern application development is an approach that creates competitive differentiation by enabling rapid innovation. And it's important to note that it's not a lofty ideal reserved for cloud-native startups. It's a set of best practices that can take the form of incremental steps of a customer moving one workload at a time from on-premises into the cloud, or inspired leaps where a customer that's mostly on-premises today might build net new applications completely in a cloud-native fashion. Wherever our customers are in their cloud journey, we can help them with the strategy and the approach to make incremental steps towards developing modern apps. So how do our customers modernize their apps? Well, we've spoken with many customers, and we've distilled it down into 6 main pillars. The first is that you want security and compliance across your entire application cycle. This is not unique to modern apps. This is just the best practice for building a secure application. The second piece of it is that in comparison to monolithic applications of the past, modern applications are structured as a collection of microservices. Microservices are basically well-bounded portions of an app's functionality that can be built separately, updated separately, deployed separately, but they interact together to form the broader application. The reason why microservices are able to enable the agility and innovation we talked about before is because developers can build, change, and deploy them quickly with relatively small impact on the overall app. This is, again, in contrast to a monolithic approach where the application is built piece by piece from the ground up, and in order to update or change a piece of that monolithic app, you basically have to change the entire thing. Third, we believe that the best way to build microservices is by using serverless technologies. Serverless technologies let companies build and run apps without the need to provision or manage servers, operating systems, or software. We believe that compute is very core to the choice of adopting serverless, and you may have heard of our core serverless compute technologies, including functions with AWS Lambda and containers with AWS Fargate. However, it's important to note that serverless technologies are more than compute, and our customers need more than compute to build serverless applications. They also leverage serverless storage like S3, API management with API Gateway, messaging with SNS and SQS and MQ, orchestration with step functions, troubleshooting, monitoring, and much more. And with all of these serverless technologies, they realize the benefits of scalability, higher agility, built-in availability, and lower costs. The last piece is the last three steps are really about the way that customers manage their application and build their application. To release features faster, customers use automated continuous integration and continuous delivery, or CI/CD practices. CI/CD helps automate the entire release process from when the customer builds the app to the testing phase to staging phase and finally to the approval and live stages. It provides an opportunity to validate security, audit changes, and automate the entire pipeline at each stage to really get that innovation flywheel effect we discussed earlier. It's also important to model these applications and their infrastructure as code. This means that we bring infrastructure management into the development pipeline, where it's managed and tested using CI/CD practices to reduce errors and speed up deployment. And finally, modern applications use data from built-in monitoring and logging tools that maintain end-to-end observability. These protect and enhance the customer experience. Additionally, the data collected can be used with analytics engines to deeper understand the customer behavior and customer benefits of these applications. Now, Andy recently said in an amazing Forbes article, if Amazon.com were starting today, it would go serverless. That is the power of modern applications. So let's talk about where our customers are today and how we initiate the conversation with them. First, it's important to note that pretty much no customer is going to get on the phone with you and say, how can I build modern apps? At the same time, very few customers you talk to are going to have a completely monolithic on-premises application that they're deploying by hand. If customers are talking to us, they're probably already using us in some shape or form or want to use AWS. We have the opportunity to help our customers make the most of their investments on AWS by talking to them about serverless technologies and managed services and all the capabilities AWS provides, including our large AWS ecosystem. That's where our customers are today. But what about our landscape? Well, the technology landscape for compute is very fragmented and confusing. IT leaders get a lot of messages and sales pitches about how to modernize their compute workloads. They've also seen a lot of fads in the space over the last few years, technologies that have a lot of hype, flare up, and then quickly die out. So choosing the right technologies and how to plumb them together properly can be confusing, and it might even be seen as risky. These customers who want to build modern apps but aren't quite sure how, well, they're looking for a strategy from us to give them confidence in their investments and to simplify their choices. So speaking with these customers, one question that I like to start with is, what is your microservices strategy? Or what is your container strategy? Or what is your serverless strategy? Oftentimes, they might have a vision, but they're looking for our guidance on how to get there. Or maybe they have started down the path of adopting tools. However, these tools may or may not be meeting their needs. This is an opportunity to frame the strategy for them, to position AWS as a leader in implementing the modern application strategy and the accompanying technologies, and to ease their concerns about adopting new technologies and developing their own ownership models. So we see customers using practices to modernize one applications at a time. And these conversations often end up surfacing one of the four main opportunities that I'm going to outline for you now. The first is rehosting. So this is where you may have heard the term lift and shift. It's where customers lift and shift their applications to the cloud without changing it very much. For example, a great example of this is the migration story, where a customer moves from the data center to running applications hosted on top of EC2. Some qualifying questions you might ask there is, what is the most important thing to your organization right now? Is it developer agility? Is it resource utilization? Is it cost optimization or compliance and governance? Good candidates for lift and shift might prioritize things such as resource utilization and cost optimization. Agility might be a secondary or third order concern. Another qualifying question for the rehost or lift and shift example would be, is the application you want to move to the cloud business critical? So if a business critical application needs to move to the cloud with minimal risk, well, a lift and shift is a great option for that. The second path that we see customers take is what we call re-platforming, or lift, tinker, and shift. And this is where customers might adopt new managed and cloud services to reduce their operational overhead while still retaining confidence and control. A great example would be a customer that has already done a lift and shift and starts to leverage more managed AWS services like RDS or Amazon MQ, or ports VMs running in the data center to AWS using containers. A great qualifying question could be, are you practicing DevOps already? Or does your organization have a containerization strategy? The third path we see is customers who are refactoring or re-architecting their applications. This means that they are adopting a new code packaging or deployment technology or architecture for their application. This is a great example of a customer who wants to move their monolithic application into a collection of microservices, and they might do that. They might break their monolithic app using containers or functions. Some qualifying questions there would be, are you starting a new application development in the next 6 months? Are you refactoring legacy applications to move towards a cloud-native app development pattern? Another one could be, if you're interested in refactoring your app, what technologies are you planning to use? Have you considered containers or serverless to go from monolithic to microservices? The last example we see is where we talked about earlier, that inspired leap. These are customers that are either building their net new applications completely in the cloud using serverless microservices, or they're actually going straight from a monolithic on-premises application to re-architecting, refactoring, replatforming in one go, and moving that app to serverless microservices. The latter we'll see a lot less of. The opportunity there for reInvent is really companies that are building net new applications. So some great qualifying questions would be, are you starting a new app in the next 6 months? If you're starting a new app, what are you prioritizing for? Are you prioritizing for, rapid experimentation, developer agility, trying to test out a lot of new ideas? Are you running in test or production workloads, either in the cloud or serverless? If the customer says that they're really interested in experimenting and they want to build net new applications very quickly, well, reinvention is a great possibility for them. So our goal with modern apps is to automate and abstract away as much as possible so customers can focus on building apps for their business. I'll give you some great customer examples now for each of those migration paths we talked about. So for replatform, which we refer to as potentially using more managed services to take over what they used to manage on their own, we have Turner Broadcasting. They migrated 850 apps running in 5,000 containers to serverless containers with Fargate in order to reduce the undifferentiated heavy lifting that came with managing Kubernetes, which is a container orchestration tool. An example of a great enterprise customer that has reinvented on AWS, FINRA. FINRA does stock validations, and they're a government-mandated organization, and they created a serverless stock trade validation system in only 3 months on AWS Lambda that improved processing times by 67% while reducing costs by 50%. That is an incredible reduction of TCO while seeing an increase in that agility and innovation. Yelp. Yelp is a company that does restaurant reviews and reviews for other types of events and businesses. And they have refactored their monolithic business-critical application into serverless microservices using an orchestration service we have called AWS Step Functions. And they saw gains in performance, flexibility, and observability. Volta. Volta is a charging company that partners with brands to build free electric car charging networks for communities, and they actually operate the largest free electric car charging network in the US. They're a bit more of a, you might consider an innovative startup, but they've completely, again, reinvented on top of AWS. Because they're using AWS Lambda, which is a serverless compute technology, they can actually make a huge impact with a very, very small team by leveraging managed services and serverless technologies to significantly reduce operations and maintenance. So why AWS for modern apps? Well, the journey of modernization starts with a platform that not only delivers the right tools, but also interfaces with existing software, tooling, customer frameworks, and service meshes. We want to meet our customers where they are today, and we want them to be able to use their existing investments in software. The AWS platform empowers this journey with the broadest set of solutions, the deepest expertise, and the most flexible integrations. We have a full serverless stack, including compute options for both functions and containers. We connect application components with API management, messaging services, and state management and workflow orchestration services. We offer data store options for relational, non-relational, object, and graph databases. Our suite of developer tools enables the complete modern application lifecycle from development to build to test and deployment. We also enable built-in security with tools that provide authentication, authorization, and audit controls. We offer all of these services on a reliable global platform that's been battle tested by decades of experience, and we enable applications to coexist in all states, whether they're currently on premises or in the cloud. We want to emphasize as well that we have the largest customer base. According to a Gartner stat, we have more compute in use by paying customers, the aggregate of all other cloud vendors combined. We have the longest experience. You may hear often Andy say there's simply no compression algorithm for experience. We have the deepest set of portfolio of compute options, serverless options. We also have a very broad and extensive partner network where they're able to lend us the expertise and our customers the confidence that they can innovate and fail without fear. So why does modern application development matter to me, to us? Well, by leveraging the modern app development theme, we can broaden the conversation with our customers. We can help them think beyond just using the cloud for a specific technology, and we can inspire them about the possibilities of building with AWS. This means that we have the opportunity now to educate our customers on a wider range of AWS services and help them adopt the most innovative cloud solutions available today. We can convince them that AWS is the cloud provider of choice to solve not just their technical problems, but to be a true strategic partner in their business problems going forwards. Our goal is to unleash innovation for companies of all types by automating and abstracting away the complexities of building and operating applications. We know that we're on the right track when we see millions of our customers boldly experimenting with us and succeeding with very, very lean teams, sometimes in the order of 2 to 3 people. For example, our customers at NASA summed up the result of their modernization path. They said, "We now have an agile, scalable foundation on which to do all kinds of amazing things. Much like with the exploration of space, we're just starting to imagine all that we can do with it." Customers like NASA are building their businesses around the possibilities instead of the constraints of their technology stack. They're unleashing their creativity to invent things that radically transform our world, and AWS is the platform on which that creativity thrives. I'd like to close out from a quote by Jeff. He says, "Invention comes in many forms and at many scales. The most radical and transformative of inventions are often those that empower others to unleash their creativity, to pursue their dreams." We are creating powerful self-service platforms that allow thousands of people to boldly experiment and accomplish things that would otherwise be impossible and impractical. So we ask that you have the conversation with our customers to inspire them about what they can do by modernizing their applications. Thank you.